Most people don't think of reading as a way to process emotions. They think of it as something intellectual. You read to learn, to understand ideas, to follow a story. But something else is happening at the same time, whether you notice it or not. You are processing yourself through what you read. Not in a dramatic way, in a very quiet, layered way. Because when you read, you're not just taking in words, you're entering someone else's way of experiencing that world, their thoughts, their reactions, their emotional patterns. And as you move through that, your own inner world starts responding. Sometimes you agree, sometimes you resist. Sometimes something in you feels unexpectedly exposed. That response is the beginning of emotional processing. Not the end of it, just the beginning. There's a concept in psychology called externalization. It simply means that when something is difficult to hold internally, it becomes easier to understand when you encounter it outside yourself. And literature does exactly that. It places complex emotions in front of you, but at a slight distance. Not so far that you feel disconnected, but far enough that you're not overwhelmed. When you read The Bell Jar, you're not just reading a story, you're encountering a very specific emotional state, articulated in a way that might feel uncomfortably familiar. And because it's not you directly, you're able to stay with it longer. You don't immediately shut down or avoid it. You observe it. That observation is what allows processing to begin. Similarly, when you read something like Man's Search for Meaning, you're not just learning about suffering, you're witnessing how meaning is constructed in the presence of it. And that begins to influence how you relate to your own experiences, not by giving you answers, but by expanding what feels possible. This is why certain books feel timely. They arrive when you're already dealing with something internally, and instead of overwhelming you, they give shape to it. They make it visible. But reading alone is only one part of the process, because recognition is not the same as integration. You can recognize yourself in something and still not fully understand what it means for you. This is where writing becomes essential. When you write after reading, you move from observation into integration. You take what was outside you and begin to relate it back to your own experience. Even something simple like, "I didn't realize I felt this way until I read this." That sentence is already doing emotional work because you've connected the external experience to your internal one. That's what processing looks like. Not immediate clarity, but gradual connection. There's also something important about pacing here. Reading allows you to approach difficult emotions indirectly. Writing allows you to approach them directly but at your own pace. You decide how much to say, how far to go, when to stop. That control matters because emotional processing doesn't work under pressure. It works under attention. And when reading and writing come together, they create a structure for that attention, not rigid but steady. If you think about it, most people try to process emotions by thinking harder, trying to analyze everything internally. But thinking has limits. It loops, it repeats, it gets stuck. Reading interrupts that loop. It introduces something new. And writing gives you a place to respond to that interruption. That's the cycle. Read, notice, write, return. Over time, this builds something very subtle: emotional awareness. Not as a concept, but as a lived experience. You begin to recognize what you feel more clearly, you begin to stay with it longer, and slowly you begin to understand it differently. So maybe don't ask yourself, can reading really help with emotions? Instead, ask, What did I feel while reading that I haven't yet given space to in my own words? You don't have to give perfect answers, just begin. Take a blank page and write. Because sometimes emotional processing doesn't start with looking directly at yourself. It starts with reading something that feels close enough and then allowing yourself to respond to it honestly.